Adjusting to living in prison is difficult. The stresses of normal life seem magnified in this environment, and merely the stress of change alone can seem like too much to endure. The incarcerated individual has limited control, few options, and their future seems more unpredictable. For many, suicide can seem like the answer to all of their problems, but the idea that suicide solves problems is a tragic myth. Many other tragic myths surround the notion of suicide, and the purpose of this video is to not only help dispel them, but to give those who are contemplating suicide hope for a better tomorrow.
I tried to commit suicide a long time before I got into prison. Well, probably about my second time in prison, I tried to commit suicide. Actually, I did almost commit suicide. I had a lot of events that led up to that. I had roommates that were really stressful, that were bullying me, and I finally got fed up. My daughter is dying. She has Huntington's disease. And I thought, why live? I didn't go seek help. I didn't go try to talk to anybody like I should have. Although I attempted, I got taken out on out count. I ended up in the hole and was thinking how selfish I was, because then if I would have gotten that one thing, if I would have been able to attempt suicide, there would be no chance of me ever seeing my daughter or family again.
I attempted suicide back in 2013 in county jail. I was just released from prison 3 weeks before, and I was really a hot mess, for real. I was up for the whole 3 weeks I was out. When I finally slept for 3 days and ate from 3 days, I called home. My kids were a mess. They were crying. They just couldn't believe I was going to abandon them again. My mom, she's really sick, so she didn't know how she was going to take care of them while I was doing another bid, you know. I really thought that I was a burden to my family, and I didn't want them to hurt no more. And the only way to not be a burden no more was take myself out. I wanted to kill the addict that lived in me, you know. I was so sick of hurting my babies, you know.
She was really outgoing, funny. She loved to talk about the future, you know, getting out, being with her family, having kids. She loved to dance. So in ASEG, your vents are connected, and you can talk through the vents, and you can hear everything that's going on in the rooms or whatever. So when I moved her in the room, she was still really upset or whatever. So I called her and I was like, what's going on? Like, are you okay? And she was like, no, I'm not okay. You know, I'm really upset. I'm mad because I'm in ASEG, and I'm not able to talk to my family. I just got bad news, and I don't deserve to be in ASEG. And she was just like, I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick of always being in trouble, always being locked down, being away from my family. It just seemed like things ain't gonna never get better in my life. And I'm just like, but things will get better. I'm like, you know, whenever you need to talk, you can talk. Well, she started talking to herself.
Most suicidal acts represent carefully thought out strategies for coping with problems. Reasons can vary, but common ones can be illnesses, parole hearings, release dates, death of family or loved ones, financial instability, or fear of death, or physical or sexual harm. Suicide rarely happens suddenly and with no warning. Another common myth is if someone has previously attempted suicide, they won't try it again. The sad fact of the matter is 65% of completed suicides have at least one previous attempt. Most everyone that attempts or commits suicide has exhibited some kind of warning signs, such as giving their property away, acting as if they feel better, or losing interest in things they usually enjoy, like talking to family or friends, or foregoing their usual routine behavior.
My mom, she's really sick, so she didn't know how she was going to take care of them while I was doing another bid, So I got in a fight immediately, probably after I got off the phone, because I was angry at myself. I was hurt, They put me in solitary confinement, which is ADSEG, jail. I like to say kind of like the walls, they talk to you when you're by yourself, especially when you're coming down off drugs. At that point, my mind was my worst enemy. Repeated flashbacks of how I kept on hurting my family. I've been a drug addict for 17 years, so a lot of hurt and pain comes with that, I was pushing my family away and had the wrong company in.
After dinner, they come around and they do pads and trash. And they was going around the hallway asking people if they needed pads or the trash can. So I'll never forget when they got to her door, they was like, "Do you need pads or trash?" And she was like, "I need the trash can." So she started throwing away like all this stuff she had, all this paperwork, just throwing away everything she had. She even tried to throw her Bible in there. Like shortly after that, I was laying in my bed reading my book, and she called me again, and she said, "Tiara, what are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm reading." And I was like, "Do you got a book over there?" And she was like, "No, I can't read. I'm still upset." And I was like, "Girl, you got to stop stressing yourself. If you keep doing this, they really not going to let you out. You just got to be calm." I was like, "I'm here if you need to talk." She was like, "Okay." So I get back to reading my book, and I heard this sound. It sounds like when somebody throwing up real bad in the toilet. So I'm steady hearing this horrible sound. It's never left me. And so I put my book down, and I walk over to the sink and climb up there and put my ear on the vent. And I was like, "What are you doing over there? Are you throwing up? Are you sick?" And she didn't answer me. So she steady making this noise. So I got to panicking because I remember previously her trying to commit suicide in the county. And so I pressed my button and I was like, "Listen, y'all need to come down here and check on this inmate because she's making this weird noise." And finally, when they came, this lady looked in the room and she just fell backwards, fell to the floor and got on her walkie-talkie. And so this man came running down the hallway, another officer, and he unlocked the door and he immediately cut her down. And that's when I knew something was wrong because he was panicking. And he started doing CPR on her. I had my ear to the vent. I could hear him doing CPR on her, screaming for her to come back. Finally, the nurses came and they did CPR on her and shocked her, tried to bring her back to life and all that, but it was too late. They brought her out the room on a stretcher, and I remember just standing in my door looking at her, just her lifeless body, and just shaking my head and just crying because it was so sad.
Another tragic myth is that talking to someone about suicide will make them suicidal. The fact is just the opposite. Talk to that person. Listen to that person. You cannot make that person suicidal when you show an interest in their welfare by discussing the possibilities of suicide. If you believe they have been having suicidal thoughts, don't be afraid to ask that person, are you thinking about suicide? Concerned, non-judgmental questions, encouraging the person to discuss her ideas may help relieve the psychological pressure. It's important to remember that most suicidal people have mixed feelings about killing themselves. They are doubtful about living, not intent on dying.
As I'm hearing all this going on, I felt guilty for not talking to her more, for ignoring her for a book. You know, I couldn't help but think about the times that, you know, that we spent, that we, you know, things we talked about. You know, the time that I moved in her room for those few weeks to prove to the people that she would do good being around other people. Like, I would braid her hair, make her feel like a normal human being, talk to her, have girl talk with her, talk about having kids, getting married, just different things. For one, I've always felt like very sorry for her family. She was the second daughter that her mother had to bury.
How would you feel if a family member of yours tried to kill themselves? Would you be mad? Be angry? I know I would be.
After I committed suicide, I woke up and, you know, they let my family come in, and I seen all the hurt and pain on their face. You know, my mom told me, you know, you can't do that to us because this is what hurts. All we want you to is to get your life back so we can have you in our lives, you know. We just want you to grow up. We don't want to lose you forever. We just want you to grow up, you know.
I know that it affected everybody that was in ASEC, that was in the whole prison, because she was very known, and people liked her. You know, she was a good person. I feel like staff members were affected by it because they dealt with her on a regular basis. Everybody was hurt by it. Like, everybody was just felt like, why? Like, why would you do this?
If you ever want to do something like that, go talk to somebody. I mean, probably the person that you think hates you the worst is probably going to be the person that want to help you the most.
Women that feel like they can't go on, they just don't see their lives down the road. They have a future. They just got to get over that little bump, you know, because that's all it is just one bump. And if we can get past that bump, who knows what we can do? Sky's the limit, you know.
Suicide does not end the chances of life getting worse. It eliminates the possibility of it ever getting better, even in a place like prison. The effects of suicide extend far beyond the individual. Loved ones, friends, family, and even staff members are affected by the acts of suicide. If you suspect someone you know is contemplating suicide, you can give them some sense of hope. If you yourself are contemplating suicide, there are staff and other women who care and are more than willing to talk about how you are feeling. Chances are they have felt similarly at some point in their lives, but have managed to go on.